Welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast. Join us as we delve into the dynamic world of pharmacy, exploring the latest trends, innovations, and insights that shape the industry. Our podcast is proudly brought to you by Independent Pharmacies Australia IPA, dedicated to supporting independent and bannered pharmacies nationwide. We're committed to connecting all member pharmacies under the IPA national brand, recognized by Australians for elevating community healthcare to meet local needs. Our vision drives our mission to empower pharmacists and pharmacy professionals. From discussions on healthcare advancements and regulatory updates to interviews with industry experts and success stories from pharmacy professionals, we cover it all. Our goal is to inspire and equip pharmacists to thrive in today's ever-evolving landscape while championing the values of independence, community, and excellence. And today we are speaking to Keely Paul. Keely is an accomplished pharmacist that has been a part of the IPA team for the past 6 years. Having graduated with the first cohort of the James Cook University pharmacy students back in 2002, Keely has followed in the JCU mantra of giving back to our rural communities, having worked rurally both across Queensland and Victoria. Keely has also recently undertaken her JCU full scope of practice study, and along with her appointment in the role of National Professional Services Manager, she will be able to provide insights of what the studies entail and how a pharmacy can easily implement full scope in their pharmacy. So, Keely, I want to just know you in general. So you're a pharmacist by profession.
Mm-hmm. So graduated 2002.
Practiced in Queensland mostly?
I have worked in Victoria as well, so predominantly in my, 23 years of being a qualified pharmacist. The majority of that has been in Queensland, but I did have 3 years in Victoria.
And from there, you moved from working in front shop and then moving into IPA, or Independent Pharmacies Australia?
Yeah, so...
Why?
Yeah, so I had a stint in Victoria working for the Advantage Pharmacy Group. So I had the privilege of working for John Cardis, Michael Gray and Steve Kashanakis in one of their stores. I managed one of their stores for them. And I have a husband who's in the Defence Force, so we got posted back to Brisbane. And it was a really regretful posting. I loved working for Advantage. And it's not often that you find a job that you really enjoy and I guess employers that you really enjoy working for. So I stayed in contact with the boys the whole time. So when I moved away, and they had said to me, no matter what, Keely, if we ever do anything in Brisbane, we'll let you know. And then sure enough, 3 years later, I got a phone call and they said, can you come back and help us? And I've been back as the professional services pharmacist for Queensland.
Yes.
I came back and then have managed to progress through the ranks, I guess, into this new role at National Professional Services Manager. So that's my background with IPA, I guess. A few mergers in there.
I know. But I want to take it back just one step, because you mentioned that there was a 3-year gap between you working for Advantage and you working for IPA. The fact that they even remembered you means that you made a big impact.
I'd like to hope so. I'm still here. I made a regular effort to stay in contact with them as well. But not only that, the services that we rolled out through Advantage, I was nagging them constantly to make sure I wanted Buy It Right in my stores here in Brisbane, and I wanted to make sure that we had those different programs available. So I sort of tapped into little bits and pieces, but I don't want to be one of those cliches where you say you're working for family, but that's how it feels to me.
That's good to hear. Because that's how it feels for me as well.
Yeah.
Even though I work in a different department to you, it still feels like that, even at our end. So when it comes to what you ended up doing for IPA when you started working for them, you actually started working on the road, didn't you? You were visiting pharmacies, actually touching base with pharmacists on a daily basis.
A very important part of what we do. I think, being on the ground and working directly with the pharmacies. My role entailed coaching and mentoring the pharmacists within IPA or Advantage at that point in time to make sure that they were getting the best out of what they could do in store. So, but that's the part I love. That's the part I love about doing our job, is being with customers, and whether it be when I've got the white coat on or whether it be in store, the people part and the relationships is the part I enjoy about our job. So,
And I'm sure it wasn't all a bed of roses. I'm positive it wasn't a bed of roses. There would have been challenges. There would have been, and challenges come in many forms. Challenges come on a one-on-one level with a specific member, but then there's also challenges within the industry. So industry changes could cause challenges even on how we practice as pharmacists on a day-to-day basis, which also changes that relationship that we have. What challenges have you overcome, helped even business owners overcome?
Yeah, I think we've had quite a few challenges over those years. I mean, the biggest one that stands out to us is COVID. The pharmacists were run off their feet. The pharmacists were having tins of formula thrown at their heads and being screamed at because they couldn't supply Asmol. So that was a lot of mentoring and a lot of, I guess, counselling on how to get through those hard days. We had a lot of pharmacists that experienced mental health issues through that period of time. So there was a lot of issues which I think needed to be dealt with in that sense. We've also had more recently 60-day dispensing.
Yes.
And we've had to get through those challenges, and we've had to come up with ways in which we can claim some of that missed income back. So I think that as pharmacists, we're quite resilient.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
we've had to build a very strong backbone to get through changes. I mean, the first change that I remember, even in my career, that we had to get used to was when the atorvastatin generic first came out.
Yes, I remember that.
I just
And I
remember
killed
being
it.
loaded.
I
Yes.
just want to say I killed it.
Yeah.
I had 96% conversion rate. I want that to be on record.
Yeah. So we had 6 months worth of stock filling our shelves because, this was the first big
Deal.
big molecule, generic that we'd ever seen. So, and pharmacy had to adapt to that quite quickly, and that's when our bulk ordering started.
Yeah.
So I think, over the years, we've had to come up with different ways and different processes to get through those challenges. I think I've just shown my age when I'm saying that I can remember the atorvastatin generic coming out, but that's okay.
Oh no, that atorvastatin generic conversion, that came 5 years ago?
Yeah. We'll go with that. Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I was just but a bub. I was just, still fresh out of college, still fresh out of university. Roses in my eyes.
We all were, yeah. Yeah.
But with that, having said that, because you're right, COVID was quite intense for pharmacists because it was changing every single day. And the changes would happen even after the fact. So things like the vaccination schedules would be changed, and you would hear about it on the TV. You probably haven't prepped yourself or your team, and the very next day when you open the door, people are saying, now you can vaccinate kids. And you're like, oh, no, I need to mentally prepare myself.
You just gotten excited because you'd finished one module and then they'd have to throw another one at you, and you're like, I just did that yesterday. So yes, there was a lot of change.
And then you didn't know which vaccine would go for which one. And people were coming in, just calling you saying, do you have the Moderna? Do you have this? So it was like all sorts of elements being thrown at you. Being a head office, how quickly could you adapt to those changes?
I think because I still practiced to a certain degree. So I still had access to a lot of that, I guess, on the road updates. As soon as pharmacies were receiving them, I was receiving them as well. So as much as I say I was from a head office, I think we collaborated in the best possible way that we could to get information out to our pharmacies. But I think a lot of responsibilities fell on us as individual pharmacists, knowing what the industry was like out there at the moment. So there was a lot of phone calls, there was a lot of emails, there was a lot of And I mean, that just caused more angst, I guess, in the long run, because there was emails flying everywhere, there was faxes flying everywhere, there was scripts flying everywhere, literally. So I think that caused more angst in the long run. But in terms of being up to date and I guess in the market, that's what's made us different, is that we're pharmacists that are still practicing, and we've still got a finger on the pulse and are getting those regular real-time updates.
For sure, 100% agree with you there. When you looked at the pharmacies that do well, because you've got that oversight of having visited so many, I could probably even put it to what, hundreds?
Oh, yeah, easy, yep.
What are the key things or key elements that the successful pharmacies are doing? And what are the pharmacies that aren't succeeding doing? So, double-edged sword here.
Yeah. So I think at the moment, retention is such a huge issue. Team. I think our good pharmacies have a stable team, and I know that that's not necessarily something we can control. Our pharmacies that are achieving good things spend a lot of time working on their teams. So they spend a lot of time investing into their teams. So as much as we say the pharmacy's doing well, the owners and the pharmacists have really engaged their teams to be the best that they can be. And I think a lot of things are changing now. We've got so much happening as we move forward, and I'm sure we'll tap into that as we go along, but we need to be spending time on building capable teams, and those pharmacies that do well, whether that be through professional services or whether that be through retail sales, do it well because they've invested in the team. So I think for me, that's the most important part. I've always been about working with a team. It's something that I pride myself on that. So I think you see it across the board in those pharmacies that do well, is they've got a team that want to be there, they've got a team that's invested in and want to stay for the long run.
Yeah, very true. And the ones that aren't doing well, is it lack of investing in their team, or is it other business elements that they may not? One thing I've seen, and I'll just jump in, because I've got the pleasure of also working in a number of pharmacies as well. And with everything that's happening right now, automation wasn't as big a couple of years ago. It literally, I think now, it's gotten to a point where you need to automate.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
There's no two ways about it. You need to make sure that certain everyday functions do not require hands-on, conducting.
Yeah. And I think that you can also tie that back into what I've just said around investing in your team, because we all know that our best team members are the ones that get stuck doing those tedious tasks, because you know that we can trust them. You know that they're the ones that you would, handle all the stock orders because they'll do it right. So when I say investing in the team, that means ways in freeing them up. So we need to make sure that we're providing education and tools, such as automation, to be able to free up our best team members to be out with the patient doing what they do best. So that's investing in a team, and team capability comes across every avenue, because it may be providing them with the tools that they need to do that. So whether that be through learnings, whether that be from upskilling, or whether it be from putting in different programs and supports to get them through and get them doing what they do best.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. As we've now started talking about teams and teamwork, I've started my full scope of practice training, and
It's so fun,
I'll be honest, prior to starting it, so last year I was considering it, and I thought to myself, how am I going to make this fit into my everyday life? I work a number of
Too many hours, too many hours, Melody.
And if you think about it, most pharmacies do open long hours. And that's the one thing we pride ourselves for. And we actually showboat that, because we're saying we're accessible. We open after hours. You can come in after all is said and done. We're there for you at, 6 o'clock.
We're the available healthcare profession.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We're there on a Sunday, we're there on a Saturday.
yeah.
Now, adding that other layer of going back to school, number one, for me, it was getting back into that learning mode because it's a different kind of brain
It's
that you need to
completely
use.
different brain. Yep.
And it's a different kind of brain to doing CPD points as well. So you can't say, oh, I do CPD points, so, you know, it's going to be an
40
easy,
hours has got 40 points has got nothing on full scope. Yeah.
because you're going to have not only quizzes, exams, written exams, as well as an oral
Oral
exam.
exams. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a different kind of ball game. How did you, because you've already done this, you've already walked the walk of doing full scope. When did you start?
So I started in cohort 2, which was the 2023. I started my training then. I'm still about to sit my final exam, and that's been due to personal reasons and sickness that I've had to put off that final exam. So that's about to hit our shores in 2 weeks. But I've managed to work it in really difficultly. So I'm being honest. I loved it. I loved full scope of practice. I loved the clinical knowledge. I loved learning, but the time and the balancing act that is full scope of practice is not fun. And I think anyone that tells you it is lying. Just full place. So I know that it was a struggle.
Yeah.
So there was days where I just thought, I can't do this.
Wow.
And there was times where I thought, I need to stop. But I really enjoyed the learnings. I really am excited about what we can do out into the industry. But I think as an industry, we also need more recognition for the amount of work that this actually entails.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to go back one step and ask you, can you describe a day in your life with full scope in it? Because I know that you'd have gone to work. I know you've got kids and you've got a family. So just tell me what one of those days looked like for you.
Yeah. So to give you some context as well, in 2023, I basically was a single mum with 2 teenagers. My husband lived away because of the Defence Force. So I was running a household all by myself. So a day would look like getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning and making sure that my teenagers were organised. I had one in grade 12 that year as well. And starting work at 8 a.m. It would then work all day, finish at 6, 7 o'clock at work. And I mean, that's my own fault. I'm a glutton for punishment. And then it would be sitting down after I cooked dinner to try and study. And I don't know about you, but trying to study before bed is just shocking. I'm not one of those people that can do it because it means that I can't sleep then because my brain is so active.
That's me exactly.
Yeah.
I don't have that wind down. So now you're trying to wind down after that. Yeah.
So it means that you're not getting to sleep at like 11 o'clock. There were times when, to be honest, and I think I said this to you the other day, Melody, I would have 3 or 4 modules that I'd have to do at once. Because there just wouldn't be a time that I'd be able to achieve it all together. I missed out on a family holiday. We were supposed to go away, but I couldn't because I had to get my study done. There was no way that I could afford to go away time-wise to be able to achieve it. So the rest of my family went away, had a holiday, and I studied. So it's just, you have to make sacrifices to achieve it. And I think that it's really underestimated, those sacrifices that are being made by the pharmacists out there at the moment.
Another element I'm also finding, because like I said, I've just started, and you're so right. When it comes to the learnings, they're really good. I think we just finished a patient-centered module or lesson, and I loved it. I loved it because I'm all about that. and it translates well to what you do every day as well. You know how at university when we studied, you were studying concepts and formulas that one day you may
And the whole time you're thinking, what does this have to do with what I'm supposed to be doing? Yeah.
And you're thinking, I have yet to use the Pythagoras theorem.
Yeah.
Yes, to
Yeah.
use it. But with this, it's relatable because you do it on a daily basis. So
And
everything you're learning, you literally take it back into pharmacy the very next day.
yeah, yeah, I think it's very relatable, and I think that you can see how it's going to work in your everyday practice. I do struggle a little, and this is my honesty again, with early career pharmacists undertaking this course, because
Okay.
I do believe that we need to have a bit of experience behind us in order to be able to dive into the world of expanded scope. I think that a lot of it calls on recognition of rashes, recognition of shingles, recognition of what impetigo looks like. And I think when you first graduate, you second guess yourself a lot. We all did. And unless you've had a wonderful mentor to guide you through those first couple of years, it can be really a struggle. So it's not that I don't think they're equipped to do it. I just think it's a lot of additional pressure on those early career pharmacists to be able to get through that and succeed. That's all. So just because they're still learning, they're still engaging. I think when they start pushing it out as part of the course, which I'm assuming is going to happen,
Yes, I thought,
then
yeah, it's going to be part of the curriculum, isn't it?
yeah, so I think this year or the next year will be the last years that graduate without it. So yeah, so I think that it's just definitely a lot of additional pressure to put on a junior pharmacist.
And are they still a junior, actually? If they walk out of there and they've got this extra qualification that maybe the regular pharmacist who's been there maybe for 10 years doesn't do and cannot do, because until you've done the training, you cannot perform the service.
That's right.
Are you a junior?
Well, that's it. Yeah. Are you still? I think junior's a very
Or
questionable word.
do you
Yeah.
get what I mean? Like, are
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
still
You're still an early career pharmacist, but you've got more,
ex more
not
knowledge?
experience,
Yeah,
but
not
more
experience, but no
training.
knowledge.
Yeah, more
Knowledge?
training,
Yeah, yeah.
I think.
And so that's where I think we're going to have to probably sit down as an industry and say, what does that look like? Because if I've done the training and I go into, can I ask my boss for extra remuneration and recognition because of that training? And what does that look like for me?
Yeah.
And then do I also ask my boss to pay for my training? Or even subsidize some of my training, because it is a hefty amount to go back to school. It's time as well. Do I also ask for time at work? Do I say, okay, can I have, how many hours did you spend doing it?
360, I added up.
360 hours over.
Well, I finished studying at the end of last year. So what was that? No, it probably would have been July last year. So over 8 months it was. Yeah.
So yeah, so do I ask for those hours, study hours?
I think there's a lot of things to take into consideration here, and it is a question that I'm getting asked from our members now. So as they're having pharmacists go through this training, they're coming with these questions. So I think this is a very valid discussion point. I personally believe that this is a skill that you take as a pharmacist. It's a skill that I can walk away with and keep, no matter what pharmacy I'm working in. So I personally don't believe that pharmacies should be paying for this course,
Okay.
for their pharmacists to undertake it. That's my personal belief. I do believe, however, that pharmacists should be remunerated for this
Doing it.
accreditation. Yeah, yeah. So I do think that it should be reflected in wages. And when setting, salaries and things like that, I definitely think that that's because the skills that an expanded scope of practice pharmacist brings into the pharmacy are well above what you're going to get with a pharmacist that hasn't undertaken the training. So, and that's not just in what you've been trained in. it's in differential diagnosis, it's in the ability to train your pharmacy assistants as well in triaging processes. It's all different things. It's not just the ability to run these consults and write prescriptions. So I think there's a lot of nuances in the training that will be reflected onto the rest of the team as well when leading a team. So at the moment, the Guild's still subsidising the training here in Queensland.
Yeah.
So that is still subsidised. So I think the pharmacists are only out of pocket around $5,000. Having said that, how long is that subsidy going to last? And how does a pharmacist make that back?
Exactly.
So, yeah. So it's got to come back some way. But yeah, I personally believe, because I take that qualification with me, no matter where I work. So I think it's unfair to expect your boss to pay for that. But
wow,
everyone's
if my
different.
boss is listening, you paid for my vaccination training. I don't see why you should stop now. If you could also pay for my full scope training, it would be much appreciated. Even if we go Dutch, I'm willing to go Dutch with my boss.
And I think that there will be owners out there that will do it. And you know what? That's amazing.
Yeah.
If we've got owners that are willing to invest in their pharmacists, then that's amazing. But as a personal thing, I think it's something that I take as an accreditation, or a qualification with me. So, and if you've got a boss out there who's going to pay for it, grab hold of them and don't let go. Yeah.
So you said it was about 360 hours of core work that you were doing.
So that's total. That's including the learning and practice hours.
Could you break it down for me? What other elements did you have to do? Because there was the online learning modules, I've seen that. But then there's also pracs, like we have to go face to face and do workshops as well. So could you break it down for me?
Yeah, so at the moment, the way that it's set up is that there's 3 subjects that you're undertaking through James Cook University. So 2 of those subjects are clinical subjects, and then there's a subject that works around learning in practice, it works around ethics, it works around how to make the right decisions around prescribing and all the frameworks. So the 2 clinical subjects have residentials involved with them. And when I say a residential, it's around 3 days worth of face-to-face contacts with the JCU team. And in that time, you're going through practical skills that you're going to need to do these consultations. So things like an abdo examination, a respiratory examination. You have to buy a stethoscope, Melody.
Wow.
You've got to have your own otoscope. So all those sorts of things. You're taught how to do an ear examination. You're taught how to do a musculoskeletal examination. All those sorts of things that you need that face-to-face practice time. So each of the subjects has one of those residentials, they're called. So that's another 3 days out of work that you then have to go and foster that in as well.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're actually required to do 120 hours of learning and practice. So learning and practice can be you working with other teammates or working with other pharmacists for study and building on case studies. So doing that sort of thing, you have to make sure that you're reaching each of the competencies that have been for pharmacy, and you have to make sure that you're addressing any improvements that need to be made within your scope and any improvements that need to be made in the way that you would have handled that case study. So a lot of that is done with what's called your designated prescriber. So you actually have to get yourself a supervising prescriber. Now, at this point in time, pharmacists that have gone through this project can't be that designated prescriber for you until they've had 1 year's worth of practice. So you can access a nurse practitioner, you can access a general practitioner, but again, they all need to have had at least 12 months worth of practice. So we've been really fortunate here in Queensland. We've got some wonderful GPs that have come on board and helped to support us through the program. But I know that North Queensland really struggled in trying to get GPs to come on board to support us, because we know that there's always a bit of argy-bargy when it comes to the doctors and their support of us expanding our scope of practice. So there were a lot of GPs that didn't want us doing this. So it was a real struggle to try and get those designated prescribers to supervise the pharmacists.
But you've made it, so congratulations to you.
Not yet. Still have an exam to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Still congratulations.
Yeah. The study's all done. The study's all done. Yeah.
Congratulations still. Now, full scope is one thing, and I can definitely see that as pharmacists, we're moving more into a professional space. I mean, with everything that's happening and all the initiatives that are taking place, as time goes on, patients will actually be expecting to be able to walk into a pharmacy and get above and beyond. I mean, it's happening now.
It's happening now, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how many young ladies I serve, and they already come in saying, I know that you can prescribe for a UTI, or I know that I can get a resupply of my oral contraception. And it's going to be quite important that not only are the pharmacies set up to be able to provide those services that the public expect, but pharmacists are able to either provide the service or redirect them to where they can get the services. Now, this is not for everyone, full scope, I'm taking it, because there's some pharmacists out there that are probably thinking that I'm about to retire, I'm about to sell up, but I'm not doing it tomorrow. I'm thinking of doing so in 5 years' time. Mm-hmm. What are their options? What are their options? Yeah.
So at the moment, Queensland's a whole beast of its own. At the moment, we're running a 23 disease state course. So where you do everything. I think where some of the states have really gotten it right is allowing pharmacists or pharmacies to access it disease state or module at a time. So it's really, I guess, identifying what your community needs and then picking those individual modules that you think your pharmacy and your community will benefit from. I know with the recent announcement that hormonal contraception prescribing will be national as of July. So that's something that we need to be aware of as an industry, and it's something that we need to start preparing for now, because they will be coming to you. They will be coming into the pharmacy, and you're going to be losing sales if you are not prepared and ready to go. So as much as we have pharmacists that aren't ready to jump on board, if you don't jump on board, you're going to be left behind. So it's about, if you're not ready to do it, it's about setting your store up to be ready to do it without you.
Yes.
So do you have team members within that could actually offer that service? Are you setting your business up for success regardless of whether you want to undertake that study? And you will have to turn people away if you're not. So that's all there is to it, unfortunately. And not unfortunately, because they're given options to be able to do it. And I think biting it off module by module is a lot more realistic than the current Queensland model. Not that I'm saying that there's anything wrong with the Queensland model, but I just think module by module is a lot more realistic to undertake when you're working, when you're trying to manage a family, when you're trying to do all of that. It's a lot less study all at once. So.
True, 100%. See where you're coming from there. And you know what? As you were talking, I was just realizing that even though you may be thinking of doing full scope and you're thinking, okay, I'm not too sure if full scope is the direction I want to go through, but then you're also thinking, I don't want to be left totally behind because everything moves so fast. It's easy to literally be left behind. You can start putting other services in the pharmacy. So I was just thinking of other programs you can introduce, other health promotions you can do, and that way you can still provide that level of professionalism while you sort of suss out the direction you want to go.
There's a lot of different promotions and different services now that we're not tapping into. So I think that there's a lot of things that individual pharmacies can start looking at. Gone are the days of where it was just taking someone's blood pressure, and yes, that's still going to continue, but there are things like COPD clinics that we can be running in store that don't require full scope of practice. We do have additional clinics with our health promotions that we roll out, our easy clinics that support all of that as well. So I think that there's definitely ways for pharmacists who don't want to go through full scope to be able to offer professional services and offer it well. It needs some planning. It does need planning, and it does need a wide lens.
Very true. Now, I know we've talked a lot about full scope and all that's happening in the space.
Mm-hmm.
Before we close off the podcast, there is one thing I would like to ask. Now, with full scope, the way we think in pharmacy is not the way we are going to be practicing in pharmacy. Am I correct in saying that? Because I can already see that in the modules that we're doing already. Because even some of the case studies that we're looking at, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to really communicate.
I think as pharmacists,
everyone.
as pharmacists, we want to fix everyone's problems.
Yeah.
So we're very much used to that. Come see me and I'll fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And you automatically go into fix it mode. So what medications are you on?
Yes.
How long has this been here? Okay, no problem. This is what you need. I think as we move into full scope, how we treat and communicate with a patient, there's so much more than just one thing. And full scope of practice teaches you to actually break it down into a differential diagnosis. It could be this, it could be that. Oh, have I looked at this? So whereas previously we've been like, well, if it's out of our scope, you'll need to go see the doctor.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I can't help you, go see the doctor. So those days are gone. Those days are now gone. And having said that, we still want to see our GPs, don't get me wrong. Make sure I get that little ad in there.
Yes.
Those days of just automatically referring to a GP have changed. We need to make sure that we are asking the questions, because we now become emergency healthcare professionals. So we are real-time professionals, and that's where this changes, because not only are we providing real-time treatment options, but we also need to diagnose, we also need to identify, we also need to provide clinical counselling skills, so there's a whole lot of more different things. And I think previously, and I've given this example quite a few times, and I've given it to you, one of our preps, not our exams, but one of our preps in our residentials was a young girl comes in with a rash on her finger.
Yeah.
And 17-year-old, her boyfriend gave her a ring and it's given her a rash. So by the end of that consultation, you've determined that she's actually there to get a contraception. But she's come to you with a rash because that's what she feels comfortable talking about.
Yeah.
So our communication skills and the way that we dive into having these consultations changes completely. So if someone came to you with a rash now, you would go, have some Dermaid. Yeah.
I would treat the rash. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you wouldn't think to dive into that deeper.
No.
But it's about actually exploring those conversations and getting more information out of our customers, which is something that we've never had to do in pharmacy previously.
So the training, the course actually also teaches you how to dive deep, number one.
Yep.
Could I ask, do you think the public is ready for us to dive deep?
I think the studies are showing that the community is ready for pharmacy to do expanded scope. Vaccinations and the increase in vaccinations that we've seen over the last 5 to 8 years has shown us that patients are ready to see their pharmacist. And those stores that have been vaccinating for the last or since 2014. Their patients are seeing them on a regular basis. They're seeing them and they expect a higher level of care and service from their vaccinating pharmacists. So I think vaccinations have shown us alone that the community's ready.
And whether we're ready or not, they're ready.
Yes, the community's ready, And I think that the shortage of GPs is frustrating. The community's frustrated. So the shortage of GPs, the inability to be able to get in within a month, the emergency departments that are completely overrun. You know, there's some conditions that require treatment within 72 hours or they're going to be worse off. Shingles is a prime example. So I think that it's really something that we can get on top of and provide a benefit to our community. So I think the community is ready.
Yeah, I also think the same as well. And it was evident, and it's still evident actually, with the UTI program as well as the oral contraception program.
Well, the announcement, the announcement that they're ready to start, the government's ready to start subsidising pharmacy for those consultations. That alone shows that there's a need.
And the fact that most of the women who actually walk in will say, I've seen on the website. So they are actually doing the research to find out where can I get this service? I need this service. Where can I access it? So that means, if the community is looking for us, it only makes sense that we're there and be available for them.
Yeah. So some of the learnings from the UTI pilot that we had in Queensland when it was first a pilot was that we didn't market it to our community very well. So we didn't market the fact that pharmacists now had this ability to be able to prescribe. So it's something that the guilds really learnt from through that pilot.
Because New South Wales, they did a good job.
They did a really good job. So, and Queensland really is jumping on board now with the hormonal contraceptive prescribing, and there's a full marketing campaign coming. So it's really something that they've learnt, that if we're not marketing out to our community in a way that's actually gaining traction, the pharmacies aren't going to see any drive through this. So the fact that New South Wales did UTI so well, and now off the back of the hormonal contraception module that's been released here, there's huge community marketing campaigns coming from the Guild, which will then be supported through places like IPA, and doing our own marketing and support through there. So, but we'll definitely see an increase of patients asking for these services.
Yeah, and I'm all for it. I am all for it.
Bring it on.
Because I also am a strong believer that even if a pharmacy doesn't want to move forward, sometimes your community actually forces you. Like,
without a doubt.
You've got 10 people coming in or calling and saying, can you provide this service? At one point, you're just going to have to say, you know what, let me see if I can get someone who can do it. Because clearly there's a demand and I'm not building that rapport. And that's what we love. And I think that's why most of us are pharmacists. We love serving our communities.
We don't want to let them down.
And so if we can provide that extra bit, and we showed it. We show it every single day when we're still at work from, 8 in the morning and you're shutting shop at 7, and someone might even call in and say, can I come in and get a script?
They're knocking on the door.
Shoot. Why did I put glass see-through doors? And you open it and you say, how can I help you? And even though you're about to walk out, you're not shooing them away at the door. No. You try and see what you can do. And so I'm actually stoked. I'm really happy. I probably will need to time manage probably. I will need to probably get a support group around me as well, to help out with probably key dates, key little, like when an assignment is due, just a quick nudge to say, assignment is due, or even that support group to say, okay, how do we write this assignment? The assignment is coming up.
That's what we're here for, Melody.
Direction. Thank you, Keely. Are you putting your hand up?
Yes. So IPA does have a support program. So we have our full scope of practice support program, which was designed purely for that reason. So I struggled myself getting through the program. The other pharmacists that we have on board here at IPA have struggled to get through that program. And we decided that our pharmacists needed a support program. They needed that little nudge. They needed training on how to get through time management, how to get through stressful situations. So we've got outside presenters that come and speak to them around how to actually get through full scope of practice. We've got practical skill sessions where we actually go through and provide them with assistance with case studies and learning and how to do those practical skills correct, because you can't just do it once and then know that you've got it right. You have to practice. So we create a network for you where you've actually got other pharmacists to bounce ideas off of, and you create your own little study groups on WhatsApp. So we've got some lovely messages that fly back and forth, and we've had some really good feedback and positive feedback from the course that we've run. So you're welcome to join us.
I know. I saw your email yesterday where you were like, Melody, have you joined our support group? And I was like, not yet. But after today, for sure.
I'm signing you up. Yeah.
Please sign me up. I am sold, because I've actually yesterday for the first time got home, and I go to the gym after I finish work just so that I can unwind.
Oh, you've lost me already. Yeah.
And then I sat down to do my next module, and I couldn't concentrate. Like, I couldn't stay focused. I started doing this, and then it was literally like, oh, by the way, I'm actually supposed to be in in school. I'm supposed to be actually studying right now. So I think I really thought, okay, cool, I need to put some structure into this, or else it's going to be a failed attempt.
Yeah.
And you've invested so much already. Not only are you investing your time, but you're also investing capital into this. It'd be a shame to not put that extra effort that you need to make sure it's a success. So yeah, definitely.
Without a doubt. And I think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as pharmacists because we like things to go perfectly. We like things to be right. Yeah. And this throws a spanner in the works because it's completely different to anything that we've had to do for a very long time. So setting yourself up with the right supports to get through it, I highly recommend. So even if it's not our support program, you're not part of IPA, I highly recommend that you have
join
someone. Have someone, find a friend, and make sure that you've actually got a support person set up to do it with you.
So sign me up for sure.
Done.
As is our tradition on Pharmacy Podcast, is we've got two other questions that we're going to ask. One is actually from a team member within IPA, and then another one is going to come from ChatGPT.
Okay, hit me with it.
Okay, first question is from Angela. You might know Angela. Or Ange.
Yes.
You've worked closely with her. She's actually a
very long time.
Yes, actually a professional services pharmacist. And you've been working alongside her for years.
Years, yes.
So
she knows me far too well. This is a bit worrying. Yeah.
So yesterday I went up to her and I was like, hey, give me a question. What one question would you ask Keely if you had the opportunity to do so? So she asked, what one myth about pharmacy that would you love to debunk?
I think there's still a lot of talk around it being a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
I think that there's still a lot of talk around it being the boys' club. So I think that is something that I'd like to debunk. I think that pharmacy is a profession that women can succeed in and succeed in well. It sets us up for success through motherhood with the flexibility that it offers. But not only that, ownership now is completely attainable for women. It's something that I think that we should be really proud of. And I think that the stats actually show that we have more women owners than men.
They do.
So I think the boys' club myth needs to go. I
Yes.
think, I'm very fortunate at IPA that we have really supportive owners that have women partners nationally. So it's something that I've always seen as a myth anyway, but I do see it, and I do hear it a lot around the industry, around it being a boys' club. So I think that one can be myth busted,
Yes.
with a big stamp, because it's an industry now that is for the women,
Yeah, it is.
and is being completely, I think, overrun with women, which is a great thing.
I actually was at a Guild Women's Breakfast late last year. It was as part of Pharmacy Connect, and they threw around a number of stats. So I think it was about 60%
Mm.
of pharmacists are actually female
Yeah,
or identify as female.
yeah,
Not only that, but there was the reason why we're so successful as well, it was highlighted, is because of what you just said. We've got that motherly instinct in us. We tend to want to mother our
yeah,
patients. So there's that level as well. So yeah, 100%. Even not only in just pharmacy, but the pharmaceutical industry, I think, as
yes,
well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we've got a lot of top positions where
yeah.
women are dominating.
Definitely. I mean, look at Hayley over at
Yeah.
Aratex. She's rocking it. So we're very fortunate to have these women that we can look up to and aspire to be. But not only that, within our own company, we've got women in those ELT positions, and yourself, Vanessa. We've been very privileged to have a great representation of strong, capable women. I'm looking forward to what the future offers.
I'm just still shocked you put me in the same sentence as Haley. I'm
Yeah.
still trying to recover from that. I was like, oh.
She's a boss lady. Yeah. Yeah.
So the last question, and this comes from ChatGPT. If you could swap jobs with anyone for a day, inside or outside of pharmacy, who would it be and why?
I'd like to do puppy daycare.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Just for a day. Can you even imagine anything that would be so much more fun? It's just sitting there with puppies all day.
So
Um,
you would
yeah,
definitely sign yourself up for puppy
puppy
daycare.
daycare. Yeah. Only in one of those daycare centres where they bring the dog to you, because then you hand them back at the end of the day. But yeah, I'd like to sit there and play with puppies all day. Not children,
Not
puppies.
children, just
Yeah,
puppies.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I actually
But no,
thought about it, and I was reading the question. Even when I was reading it, I was like, oh, who would I like to swap jobs with? Um, First up came up Dennis Bastis, because
oh,
I was like,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, because I was like, I would love to not only spend some of his money on on initiatives for pharmacists,
Yeah.
which he already
Oh, he's
does.
already doing. Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
already doing that. But I think I would love to hear what the future of pharmacy looks like. Because I would say he would be privy to those little elements
Mm.
where they're talking about what pharmacy here in Australia would be looking like and the initiatives that would have to take place. And I love anything like that.
Mm.
Like,
The strategy behind it all.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. Because I'm
Yeah.
in my head, I would love for AI. I'm all for the robots. I am all for them. I
Yeah.
think they're wasted in cooking and cleaning. I would love
You
for
should
them
stay tuned. There's some great stuff coming out in pharmacy, Melody. Great stuff coming
AI.
out with
I
AI.
would love an AI pharmacy where
Yeah.
you walk in, it sort of does a bit of a scan, and it goes, "Welcome, Melody. What were you here? Welcome back." You
Would you
know,
like the blue pill or the red pill?
that I would love that. Like
Yeah.
you know me before I'm even there, you
Yeah.
know. Oh,
Yeah.
headache today, is it? Oh, okay, cool. Well, just head on down. We've got somebody already there waiting to serve you.
Well,
Pretty.
your good community pharmacist will be doing that already. They know you as soon as you walk in the door, Melody. You don't
I
need
know.
AI.
Oh, so I don't need a robot to do it?
No, no. You just need loyalty to one community pharmacy, and they'll know you by name, and they'll know when you've got a headache.
Well, actually, that's a good way to put it. And that's a good way to close this podcast today.
Oh, I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
At Independent Pharmacies Australia, we're dedicated to supporting a network of leading independent and bannered pharmacies nationwide with a vision to connect all member pharmacies under the IPA national brand, recognized by Australians for elevating community healthcare to meet local needs. Thank you for joining us today on the Pharmacy Podcast. We appreciate your support in our mission to shape a thriving and patient-centric pharmacy industry. For more information about Independent Pharmacies Australia, you can visit our website, ipagroup.com, or stay connected with us on social media. Thank you once again for joining us. We look forward to welcoming you back soon as we continue our journey together, enhancing community healthcare